Death is quiet. That is the last thing Yoon remembers. The silence after the crash. Metal. Glass. Then nothing. Then pain. Not his pain. Not the clean, final pain of dying. This pain is older. Deeper. The kind that has been happening for a long time inside a body that has been losing itself for even longer. It lives in the ribs. In the throat. In places Yoon doesn't have words for because they are not his places. Not his ribs. Not his throat. Not his body. Where am I? His eyes open. Gold ceiling. Candlelight. The smell of something iron and sweet that his brain identifies before he is ready. Blood. He is lying in blood. He does not scream. Alphas do not scream. Even inside a body that is shaking, an Omega's body that is cold at the fingertips, that is breathing in shallow, desperate sips, he does not scream. He breathes. 1 breath. 2. His eyes move. Ornate walls. Dark velvet curtains that eat the candlelight. A chandelier dripping gold above him like a crown nobody asked for. A bed so vast and embroidered it feels like dying inside a painting. And at the foot of that bed, 2 men, identical, silver hair that falls past their shoulders like something poured, not grown. Sharp faces carved from the same cold stone, black robes open at the chest, gold chain embroidery catching the candlelight. They stand exactly the same way, shoulders back, hands loose at their sides, expressions the particular shade of bored that only people with too much power ever wear. They are watching him die, not rushing, not reaching, not even frowning, watching. Yoon's alpha instinct, sharp as a blade even trapped inside this broken, bleeding body, reads them in 3 seconds flat. These are predators, not mourners. The one on the left speaks first. You're still breathing. His voice is flat, observational, the way someone might note the weather. The one on the right tilts his head. Barely. Still counts. A pause. They look at each other. That specific twin look. The one that contains an entire conversation. And then back at him. How interesting, the left one says. Most test subjects don't make it past the 3rd hour. You're in your 6th. Yoon stares at them. Test subjects? We weren't sure the dosage was right. The right one continues. Almost conversational. Almost gentle. Too much and it's over too quickly. Too little and it doesn't give us useful data. You? Urim's voice comes out of Yoon's borrowed throat. Cracked, ruined, barely a sound. He stops, tries again. You poisoned me. Yes, the left one says, simply, plainly. Like yes, it rained today. Yes, the sun set. Yes, we poisoned you. Why? Not a question. He doesn't have the breath for question marks. The right one almost smiles. It doesn't reach his eyes. Nothing about him reaches anything. Because you would have let us. Silence. You have always let us, the left one adds. Anything we asked. Anything we wanted. You have loved us so completely and so uselessly for so long. He says the word loved like it is the most tedious fact in the room. We needed to test the compound on someone with a strong enough bond attachment to an alpha pair. The emotional chemistry changes the poison's behavior in the bloodstream. He pauses. You were convenient. Optimal, really, the right one agrees. Yoon cannot feel his feet. He notices this the way he notices everything now. Cataloged, filed, noted. His feet are cold. His hands are cold. His heartbeat is doing something irregular and frightening in his chest. But his mind is very, very still. They used his love. Urim, the owner of this body's love. This boy loved them, and they measured it like a variable. If you die, the left one says, you die. You always knew the risks of loving us. We never pretended otherwise. And if you survive, the right one says, and now there is something in his voice, something that might be amusement in a man who had never learned how to be amused. We'll let you marry us, both of us. You've wanted that since you were 16. It's been 7 years now. He tilts his head again. Consider it a reward for your resilience. The candlelight flickers. Somewhere in the walls of this gilded room, the flame bends like it heard something it didn't like. Yoon lies in Urim's blood, in Urim's pain, in Urim's broken, poisoned, beloved body. He breathes. 1 breath. 2. He thinks about Urim, this boy he has never met, This boy whose heart he inherited, along with his ruined lungs. Who loved two men so completely they became his entire world. Who trusted them so absolutely they became his tomb. He thinks about what it costs to love people who see you as convenient. He thinks about the gold ceiling, the chandelier, the beautiful, monstrous room. Then he stops thinking about all of it. Because underneath the pain, underneath the cold creeping up from his feet, underneath the shallow breathing and the taste of blood and the sound of two identical voices discussing his death like a mildly interesting experiment, something ignites. Not Urim's pain, but Yoon's vengeance. Alpha, bone deep, older than this body, older than this world. It does not beg. It does not negotiate. It does not cry. Yoon looks at the twins and through Urim's cracked lips, in Urim's ruined voice, with Urim's last breath and his own iron will fused into one single thought, he says to himself, "I will kill you both." The chandelier flickers again, and for the first time since they walked into this room, the twins go very still. Yoon wakes to gold, same ceiling, same chandelier, same gilded cage of a room. But the pain has shifted, no longer the sharp, immediate kind that announces death is close. This pain is older now, settled, the kind that means the body has decided, reluctantly, to continue. He breathes. Once, twice. Footsteps. They enter the room the way they do everything. Together, unhurried, filling the space without trying. Ryun on the left, Ryo on the right. He has already started cataloging them. Small differences. The way Ryun's eyes move first. The way Ryo's chin lifts slightly when he is about to speak. Alphas do that. They give themselves away in the details. "You survived," Ryun says. "I noticed," Yoon says. A pause. Something flickers across Ryun's face. Too fast to name. "6th hour was the turning point," Ryun says, moving to the window. He speaks to the glass, not to Yoon. The compound behaves differently after the 6th hour in subjects with strong bond attachment. Your body produced a counteragent naturally. He turns. "Fascinating, really. Glad my suffering was informative." Yoon snickers. Ryo blinks. Ryun tilts his head. Neither of them expected that voice, that particular flatness. Urim, apparently, had never spoken to them like that. Yoon files their surprise away, like a weapon he isn't ready to use yet. "We have determined the correct dosage," Ryun says, recovering smoothly. "The experiment is complete." He pauses. "Which means you've earned what we promised." Yoon looks at him. "And what was that?" "Marriage." The word drops into the room like a stone into still water. Ryun says it without ceremony, without warmth, without even the performance of romance. He says it the way men say contract and acquisition and done. "We will marry you," Ryo adds, as though this is clarification Yoon requires. "Both of us. You've wanted this. We are prepared to give it to you now." Yoon says nothing. "You should be pleased," Ryun says, and there is the first real tell. A man who truly didn't care would not feel the need to instruct someone on how to feel. "This is what you has always wanted." "Of course," he says quietly. "Thank you." The news moves through the estate like fire through dry grass. By evening, every servant knows. By morning, the entire territory knows. The Alpha twins, Ryun and Ryo, the Duke's heirs, the most feared and desired pair in 3 territories, are taking an Omega to wed. And Yoon listens. He is very good at listening. He has always been good at it. An alpha skill, the ability to go quiet and let a room reveal itself. He uses it now on the servants who bring his meals, change his bandages, sweep the floors of his gilded room. He never asks directly. He doesn't need to. "Poor thing," one maid murmurs to another near the doorway, thinking he is asleep. He's loved them since they were children, all of them growing up in the same estate. And they never once, not even looked at him properly. Until now. This isn't looking at him. This is... The maid stops. Lowers her voice further. "This is using him. Again." Yoon lies still. Urim loved them since childhood. Grew up in their shadow. Devoted years. Quietly, completely. The way only people who expect nothing in return know how to do. And they had taken that devotion and measured it. Weighed it. Found it useful. Something cold and absolute settles in Yoon's chest. They come to his room often now, always together, always standing the same way, owning the space, owning the air, their eyes moving over him like he is something they have purchased and are deciding where to display. "You'll need new robes for the ceremony," Ryo says one afternoon. "Measurements will be taken tomorrow," Rion adds. "Where would you like the ceremony?" Ryo asks. "Not what do you want, where?" As though the only variable Yoon controls is geography. "Here," Yoon says. "The main hall." Rion nods. Already moving on, already thinking about something else. Yoon watches him and thinks, "You have never once asked me what I want. Not the real question, not the one that matters." He does not say this. He smiles instead. Alphas know how to be patient. Guests arrive the morning of the wedding. Yoon hears them before he sees them. Voices in the corridor, anxious and hushed, the particular pitch of people who have been worried for a very long time. When the door opens and they step inside, he doesn't know their faces, but the way they look at him, he knows that. He has never had parents who looked at him that way. His previous life was not that kind of life. But the body remembers what the mind doesn't. Urim's chest does something complicated and painful when his mother reaches for his hand. "My son," she whispers. Her eyes are red. "You look—" "I'm all right," Yoon says. The words come out softer than he intends. "Are you?" His father steps forward, a quiet man, heavy with something he has been carrying for a long time. "Are you truly all right? This marriage? We heard. We came as soon as—" He stops, steadies himself. "Is this what you want, Urim? Truly?" The room is very quiet. Yoon looks at this man who crossed territories to ask his son one question. Who did not send a letter? Who came himself? Who is standing here with his heart in his eyes asking, "If it isn't," Yoon says slowly, carefully, "would you take me away?" His mother's grip tightens on his hand. His father doesn't hesitate. "Yes," he says. "Right now. We will take you right now." The main hall fills. Guests in silk and gold. Candles burning in their hundreds. Ryun and Reo standing at the altar. Identical. Magnificent. Utterly certain. The Omega is supposed to appear. They wait. The doors stay closed. A murmur moves through the crowd. Then another. Then silence. The specific silence of a room realizing something has gone very wrong. Ryun's eyes move to the doors. Ryo goes very still. Somewhere on the other side of the estate's east gate, a carriage moves through the morning. Inside it, Yoon sits between two people who asked one question and meant it. And he stares at the road ahead and feels, for the first time since he woke up in this dying body, something that almost feels like choice. The hall waits. Candles burn. Silk rustles. 400 guests hold their breath in the particular way of people who can feel something going wrong but cannot yet name it. Ryun stands at the altar. Ryoo stands at the altar. The doors stay closed. 1 minute. 2. 5. Ryun's jaw tightens. Just slightly. Just enough for Ryo to see. "Send someone," Ryun says quietly. Not loud. He is never loud. Loud is for men who need to perform their power. Ryun simply has it. A servant disappears through a side door. The guests murmur. Ryo's eyes stay fixed on the closed doors. His hands are loose at his sides, the careful stillness of a man holding something very tightly on the inside. The servant returns, alone. He drops to his knees before he speaks. Smart man. "My lords," his voice shakes. "The Omega, his chambers are empty. His parents' carriage left through the east gate 20 minutes ago. A swallow. He is gone." The silence that follows is not the silence of shock. It is the silence of two men deciding what kind of angry to be. They don't speak on the walk to his chambers. They don't need to. The doors open. The room is exactly as Yoon left it. Wedding robes laid out, untouched. Incense still burning. Everything prepared for a ceremony that the Omega walked away from without looking back. Ryun picks up the wedding robe, sets it down, then sweeps everything off the table in one clean motion. Not a shout. Not a word. Just the crash of ceramic and silver hitting marble floor, and the sound of something expensive becoming rubble. Ryo puts his fist through the mirror. 7 years of bad luck. Neither of them cares. "The east gate," Ryun says, pulling glass from his knuckle without flinching. "How long ago?" 20 minutes, my lord. Take 12 guards. Catch the carriage. Bring him back. His eyes are very calm. That is the most frightening thing about Ryun. The calmer he looks, the more dangerous he is. Do not touch the parents. Do not harm him. Just bring him back. The guard bows and runs. Ryeo looks at the shattered mirror, at his own fractured reflection multiplied across the floor. He left us, he says. Not angry, almost curious. Urim actually left. He'll come back, Ryun says. You sound certain. I am. Ryun straightens his robes, moves to the door. He has nowhere to go that we cannot reach. The carriage moves fast, but not fast enough. Yoon hears the horses before he sees them. His father hears them too, reaches for the curtain, and Yoon stops him with one hand. How many? His mother whispers. Yoon listens. Hoofbeats, ground vibration, the particular rhythm of horses pushed to full speed. 12, he says. His parents stare at him. Approximately, he adds. The carriage slows as the guards fan out across the road ahead, blocking, surrounding. 12 men on horseback, with the particular confidence of people who have never lost. Yoon looks at his parents, at his mother's white knuckles, at his father's jaw set hard with helpless fury, the fury of a man who cannot protect his child and knows it. Something in Urim's chest pulls tight. Close your eyes, Yoon says. Urim, both of you. Close your eyes and do not open them. Do not come out of this carriage no matter what you hear. He holds his mother's gaze. Do you understand me? You can't go out there, his father says. You're still recovering. Your body is, promise me. A beat. His father looks at him, really looks at him, with an expression Yoon cannot entirely read. Promise me, Yoon says again, quietly. The way alphas ask things when they are not really asking. We promise, his mother whispers. Yoon opens the carriage door and steps out onto the road. 12 guards. He counts them in under 3 seconds. Notes the formation. Standard ambush spread, designed to overwhelm a single target through numbers not skill. Notes the weapons, standard issue, not specialized. Notes their posture, confident, relaxed. They are not expecting a fight from a recovering Omega in a wedding that didn't happen. Good. The lead guard walks his horse forward. You will come with us. The lords have requested. Yoon moves. Later, if anyone asked him how it happened, how he could fight 12 men, he could not explain it cleanly. It was not thought of. It was not a strategy. It was something older than both. Muscle memory burned into the soul, not the body. Alpha reflexes that did not care what container they lived in. The first guard went down before he finished his sentence. The second before he reached for his weapon. After that, it was simply a matter of efficiency. He was not brutal. He was not angry. He was precise. The way surgery is precise. Finding the exact point that ends resistance and applying exactly enough force. The body screamed at him. Too weak, too small, wrong proportions, and he worked around it the way water works around stone. 4 minutes. He walked back to the carriage and knocked twice. The door opened. His parents stared out at 12 guards arranged across the road in various states of unconsciousness. His mother made a sound she immediately covered with her hand. His father stared at Yoon for a very long time. How? He said. Not a question. Not quite. Yoon looked down at his hands, turned them over once. I didn't, he said. Urim. One of the guards, Yoon said, keeping his voice even. There was one who turned on the others. Someone I used to be kind to. He remembered. He paused. He helped me. Silence. His father looked at the road, at 12 unconscious men, at his son standing in the middle of them without a scratch. That, his father said carefully, is the lamest excuse I have ever heard. We need to leave, Yoon said. His mother grabbed his hand and pulled him back into the carriage. More will come, his father said, already signaling the driver. Hold on. The carriage lurched forward. In the tree line, 30 feet from the road, 2 figures stand perfectly still. They watched everything. Ryun's eyes track the carriage until it disappears around the bend. Ryo hasn't moved since the third guard went down. He counted 2. 4 minutes. 12 trained guards. 1 Omega who should still be struggling to walk without wincing. That was not Urim, Ryo says. That was Urim, Ryun says. Ryo looks at him. Our compound. Ryun's voice is quiet. Something in it that has never been there before. Not quite reverence, not quite hunger. Something between them. We weren't just testing the dosage, Rio. Look at what it did to him. Look at what we made. Rio looks at the empty road. At 10 unconscious men. At the space where the carriage was. We changed him, Rio says slowly. We awakened him. Ryun turns from the road. His eyes are very bright. He ran. He fought. He walked away from everything we offered him. A pause. The corner of his mouth moves. Not quite a smile. Something colder. He has never done any of those things. He's different. He's ours. Ryun says it the way he says everything. Simply, absolutely. As though the universe does not have another option. We made him what he is. Whatever he's become, we built that. Ryun is quiet for a moment. He's not going to come back willingly, he says. No, Ryun agrees. He turns and walks back into the trees. He's not. A beat. Good, Ryun says softly, following. And in the space between those words lives something neither of them has felt in a very long time. Interest. Home is smaller than the twins' estate. Yoon notices this the way he notices everything. Quietly, filing it away. No gold ceiling. No chandelier dripping light like a threat. Just whitewashed walls and wooden beams, and the smell of something cooking that makes Urim's body respond before Yoon's mind catches up. A warmth in the chest, an easing in the shoulders. The body remembers what it loves. The carriage has barely stopped when the door flies open from the outside. Urim, she is maybe 15. Small and fast and entirely undignified in her joy. She hits him before he can brace for it, arms around his neck, face buried in his shoulder, and she is saying his name over and over like it is the only word she knows and the only word she needs. Yoon stands very still. He does not know her name. He does not know her face. But Urim's arms come up around her anyway, the body moving on its own, remembering, and something in his chest does something he is not prepared for. You're home, she says into his shoulder. You're actually home. I told them. I told Father you would come back. I told them. I'm here, Yoon says. The words come out soft. He did not plan them. She pulls back and looks at him. Big eyes, red from crying she will never admit to. You look terrible. Thank you. I mean it. You look like you almost died. I'm aware. She hugs him again. Tighter this time. Like she is making up for time she thought she had lost. Yoon looks over her head at the house. At his father helping his mother down from the carriage. At the servants, few, familiar, hurrying out with genuine relief on their faces. At the garden, with its ordinary flowers and its ordinary gate. He thinks about the gilded room, about the chandelier, about two silver-haired men watching him bleed and finding it fascinating. He thinks about Urim, growing up in this house, in this warmth, with this girl who would cross a room at a full sprint just to hold him. Why, he thinks. Why did you ever leave? Dinner is loud in the way of people who have been frightened and are now performing normalcy to convince themselves the fear is over. His mother passes dishes without being asked. His sister talks enough for all of them. About her studies, about a horse that threw her last week, about a neighbor's son who she finds deeply irritating, in a way that makes their father hide a smile. Yoon eats. He listens. He watches this family that is not his and feels something shift slowly in his chest, like furniture being moved into a better position. After dinner, his father finds him on the back step, looking at the night sky. You don't have to talk about it, his father says, settling beside him. Any of it. Not tonight. I know. A comfortable silence. His father is good at those, the kind of man who understands that presence is sometimes the whole point. When you're ready, his father says carefully, we should think about what comes next, what you want to do, where you want to go from here. A pause. I know this isn't. I know the last few months weren't what you hoped for. I know you loved them. Yoon says nothing. There are other options, his father continues. And there is something almost delicate in his voice. A man picking his way across uncertain ground. If you wanted, I could make inquiries, arrange introductions. There are good men in this territory. Respectable families. He pauses again. If you still wanted twins specifically, I could. Father, there are actually 2 brothers in the western province who are nothing like those. Father. His father stops. Yoon looks at him. And then he laughs. It starts small, a breath, almost, then it builds, real and uncontrolled and entirely undignified. And he is laughing properly, the kind that comes from somewhere deep, the kind that Yoon in his previous life had almost forgotten existed. Twins, he manages. You would find me new twins. I'm trying to be helpful. New twins, Yoon says again, and laughs harder. His father's mouth twitches. The offer stands. The news arrives the next morning with a merchant who stops at their gate and cannot contain himself. Have you heard? He says, barely through the door. The Duke's heirs, the twins, stood up at their own wedding. The Omega just left, walked out. They stood at that altar for 20 minutes before anyone told them. He wheezes with second-hand delight. 20 minutes. And now half the territory is laughing, I tell you. People who haven't laughed at anything in years because who laughs at those two? Yoon's sister slams both hands on the table. He left them at the altar? Apparently. She turns to Yoon. Her eyes are enormous. Yoon picks up his tea. I heard, he says, that it was a very beautiful altar, she screams. Not in distress, in pure, absolute joy. She grabs his arm and shakes it. You walked out on them. You actually, Yurim. I don't know what you're talking about. You left them standing. His father makes a sound behind his sleeve that is definitely not a laugh. His mother sets down her chopsticks and looks at the ceiling. Yoon laughs. Long and unguarded and completely free. The laugh of someone who has not felt light in a very long time and is surprised to find it still exists. His sister joins him, then his father, then his mother, quietly, into her sleeve. Outside, somewhere in the territory, the most powerful men for 3 provinces are being laughed at. Yoon laughs until his sides hurt. When he finally stops, his father looks at him with careful eyes. So, what do you want, Yurim? Truly, what do you want now? Yoon is quiet for a moment. This, he says simply. Just this. The family, the noise, the terrible twins joke you just tried to make. He looks around the table, at all of them. I want to be happy. Whatever that looks like here, I want to find out. His father nods slowly, like something has been decided. Then we find out, he says. They do. Days pass like exhaled breath, easy, unhurried. His sister drags him to the market and talks constantly. His father teaches him to play a board game he is immediately better at than expected. His mother fusses over his meals in the specific way of women who show love through feeding. Yoon lets himself be loved. He is not good at it yet, but he is learning. It is on the 9th day that his sister doesn't come to breakfast. Small thing. Easy to explain. She sleeps late sometimes. His mother says so, already moving to wake her. She comes back alone. She's not in her room, his mother says. His father checks the garden, the stable, the gate. Nothing. Yoon is the one who finds it, folded once, placed precisely at the main entrance, weighted with a stone so it wouldn't blow away. He picks it up, reads it again. Your sister's life or yours? Choose. You know where to find us. The morning birds are singing. The sky is the particular blue of a day that has no idea what it just became. Yoon folds the note, puts it in his pocket, and feels, for the first time since he stepped out of that carriage, the cold, absolute clarity of an alpha who has just been given a reason to stop running. His parents don't sleep that night. Yoon can tell by the candles still burning under their door when he rises before dawn. He dresses quietly, moves through the house the way he has always moved through dangerous spaces, without sound, without hesitation. His father is waiting at the front door. Of course he is. Don't, his father says. I have to. We will go to the king. We will file a formal complaint. There are channels. There are laws even for men like them. Father, Yoon looks at him, really looks at him. This good, quiet man who believes in systems, because systems have never failed him personally. They have 3 of the king's advisors in their pocket, 2 generals, a judge in every province they operate in. He pauses. By the time your complaint reaches anyone who could act on it, what do you think happens to her? His father's jaw works. His mother appears at the hallway. She already knows. She has known since the note. She comes forward and takes Yoon's face in both hands, Urim's face, and looks at him the way mothers look at children they are terrified of losing. "Come back," she says. "That is all. Not be careful. Not don't go. Just come back." "I will," Yoon says. He does not know if that is true. He says it anyway. He walks out into the blue pre-dawn and does not look back, because if he looks back, he will see their faces, and he is not sure what that does to him yet. This borrowed love that Urim's body carries like a second skeleton. He keeps walking. The estate looks the same, gold and dark and enormous, a beautiful thing built by people who understood that beauty can be a form of violence. The gates open before he reaches them. They were expecting him. Of course they were. Inside, in a room off the main hall, his sister is on her knees. She looks up when he enters, and something in her face breaks completely open. "Urim, are you hurt?" he says immediately. "No, I'm not, but you have to leave. You have to go. They said if you came back, they would." "Are you hurt?" "No." "Then it's fine." It is not fine. He can see that in the way she is shaking, in the red around her wrists where they held her, in the way her eyes keep going to the door behind him like something terrible is about to come through it. Something terrible does. Ryun and Rio enter the room, and the temperature drops by several degrees. They are dressed simply today. No ceremony robes, no gold chains, just dark clothing and expressions that have made grown men step backward without meaning to. Ryun looks at Yoon, then at the sister. "Release her." 2 guards move. The sister stumbles to her feet and launches herself at Yoon, arms around him, face in his shoulder, exactly like the first time at his family's gate, except this time, she is not crying from joy. "Let him go," she says over his shoulder. Her voice is wrecked. "Please, please, whatever he did, I'll do anything. Just let him." "This," Reo says, and his voice is almost kind, which is worse than cruelty, "is because of you." She goes still. "He ran," Reo continues. "He humiliated us. He involved your family." A pause. "Every consequence he suffers from this point is a direct result of your existence." "That's not—" "Take her out," Ryun says. "No." She grabs Yoon tighter. "Urim, don't let them—" "Hey." Yoon pulls back just enough to see her face. He holds it in both hands the way his mother held his. "Go home. Tell father I arrived safely." He keeps his voice even. Steady. Alpha steady. "Go home. Urim. Go." She looks at him, at his eyes. Something in her expression shifts. Confusion underneath the terror, like she is seeing something in him she doesn't recognize and cannot name. The guards take her gently. The door closes. Yoon turns to face the twins. The chains are cold. They come from the ceiling. Heavy, deliberate, the kind that require advanced preparation. They lock around his wrists before he has fully processed the guards moving, and by then the weight is already pulling his arms up and apart, and he is suspended just enough to be helpless without quite being off the ground. The beating that follows is methodical, not frenzied, not emotional. Methodical, the specific rhythm of men making a point rather than losing control. Yoon breathes through it, does not scream, does not fight. When it stops, Ryun crouches to his eye level. "You didn't fight back," he says. "Why not?" Yoon looks at him, blank, exhausted. "What?" "On the road," Rio says from behind Ryun. "With our guards. You didn't show any of it just now." His head tilts. "Why?" "I don't know what you're talking about." Ryun studies his face for a long moment. Then he stands and smiles. And the smile is the most frightening thing Yoon has seen in either of his lives. 12 guards, Ryun says, beginning to pace. His voice takes on a particular quality, the quality of a man recounting something that delighted him. 4 minutes. You moved not like an Omega, not like anything an Omega should be able to do. He stops. We watched every second. We were there, Rio adds softly. In the trees. We saw everything. Yoon keeps his face empty. They saw everything. Do you know what we think happened? Ryun continues, and his eyes are bright now. That specific brightness that has nothing to do with happiness and everything to do with hunger. Our compound. The poison. We didn't just test the dosage. We changed you. Awakened something, Reo agrees. Something that was already there, perhaps. Dormant. Ryun steps close, very close. Eye level again. You are our creation, Urim. Whatever you are now, whatever you've become, we built that. We made you. His voice drops. You belong to us. Yoon looks at him, pulls against the chains, once, hard. They don't move, not even slightly. And in the resistance he feels it, the specific composition of the metal, the way it absorbs the pull, the way it was designed to absorb exactly this kind of pull. Alpha restraint chains. Made for alphas, pre-planned. They knew, Yoon thinks. They knew before they sent the note. They prepared for this specifically. He stops pulling. Ryun watches him figure it out, watches the moment Yoon understands, and smiles wider. We had those made the morning after the road, Ryun says. Custom. Expensive. He pauses. Worth it. Ryo moves to a table Yoon hasn't looked at yet. On it, a vial the physician left behind earlier. Dark liquid. It catches the candlelight the way poison always does in stories, like it knows what it is. Ryo picks it up. His eyes meet Ryun's. Something passes between them, that twin conversation that needs no words. They both turn to Yoon. You humiliated us, Ryun says simply. In front of 400 people, in front of the entire territory. He takes the vial from Ryo. We are not men who absorb humiliation, Urim. You know this. You've always known this, Ryo adds. Ryun uncorks the vial. This will hurt, he says, and has the audacity to sound almost apologetic. But pain is information. You taught us that. He tilts Yoon's chin up with 2 fingers. Gentle, almost tender, the mockery of care. Hold still. The liquid hits the back of Yoon's throat like fire finding oxygen. For 3 seconds, nothing, then everything. His body seizes, the chains pull taut. Every muscle contracts at once in a wave he cannot control, and cannot fight, and cannot think through, because thinking requires a stillness his body has just lost entirely. He convulses. Above him, the candlelight flickers. Above him, Ryun and Ryo watch, and in the small, cold, surviving corner of Yoon's mind that the potion hasn't reached yet, the part that is alpha, that is Yoon, that is not Urim, and was never Urim, one thought, quiet, absolute. I will burn this place to the ground. The convulsions stop. That is the first wrong thing. Every person in the room feels it. The guards, the physician standing by the door, the 2 men who have spent their entire lives being the most dangerous thing in any space they occupy. The potion should be cresting now. The submission response should be flooding Urim's system. That specific chemical collapse where an omega's resistance simply ceases to exist, where the mind goes quiet and the body follows, and what remains is something that belongs entirely to its alphas. Instead, Yoon hangs in the chains and breathes. Once, twice, his head lifts. Interesting, he says. His own voice surprises him, not Urim's broken whisper, not the cracked, careful tone he has been managing since he woke up in this body. Something else, something that comes from lower, from deeper, from a place the potion apparently reached and then decided to feed instead of drown. Ryun steps forward. His eyes are doing something Yoon has not seen them do before. Calculating. But underneath the calculation, the first hairline fracture of uncertainty. It should be working, Ryun says. Not to Yoon, to Ryo. I know, Ryo says. The submission response should have. I know. Why isn't he? I don't know, Ryun. Yoon watches this exchange with the detached interest of a man watching weather change. He can feel something building in his chest. Not pain, not rage, not anything he has a clean word for in either of his languages. It is volcanic. It is pressurized. It is the specific feeling of something that has been compressed for too long, in too small a space, finally locating the exact boundary of its container. He looks down at the chains. Your physician, Yoon says quietly, looks like he wants to run. Everyone looks at the physician. The physician, to his credit, does not run. He does press himself very flat against the wall. The compound, the physician says, and his voice is barely a voice. My lords, his biology, it's not, the altered state is rejecting the submission pathway and redirecting the energy into, I've never seen, the readings are, speak clearly, Ryun snaps. It's making him stronger, the physician whispers. The room goes very still. Yoon exhales and pulls. The chain on the left goes first, not a gradual thing, not a slow weakening. It shatters. The sound is enormous in the confined space, metal screaming against itself and losing. And the guards move before the echo dies, rushing forward with the particular urgency of men who have just realized they are in the wrong room. Yoon takes the broken chain in his right hand. The first guard drops before he reaches striking distance. The second catches the wall. The third, Yoon doesn't finish the thought. He is already moving. The Omega body screams at him. Wrong proportions, wrong muscle mass, wrong center of gravity. And he moves around every complaint the way he moved around the guards on the road. The body is the limitation. The soul is not. The soul has done this before. In conference rooms, in territories 3 times the size of this estate. In every space where someone underestimated what Yoon was because of what Yoon looked like. He reaches the twins. Later, if anyone asked him to describe it, he couldn't. Not because he doesn't remember, because there are things that happen in the body that don't translate into language. Ryun is bigger. Ryo is faster. Together they are everything 2 alphas who have trained their entire lives are supposed to be. Coordinated, powerful, devastating in tandem. And Yoon is an Omega. He doesn't care. He has been an Omega for weeks. He was an Alpha for 31 years. The math is simple. Ryun swings first. He always moves first. Yoon has cataloged this, and Yoon is already not where he was. Ryo comes from the left and catches him across the ribs, and the pain is extraordinary and real, and he files it away and keeps moving, because pain is information, and he has already received it, and does not need to receive it again. He hits Ryun once, precisely, in the place that matters. Ryun goes down. Ryo makes a sound, the first uncontrolled sound Yoon has heard from either of them, and comes forward, and Yoon is already turning, and the broken chain is still in his hand, and it ends. The room is very quiet. Yoon stands in the middle of it. His chest heaves. His ribs are singing. His hands, Urim's hands, small and elegant and made for other things, are dark to the wrist. He looks down at them, at the floor, at what is on the floor, at 2 men who, 20 minutes ago, believed themselves to be gods. Their blood is warm. That is the thing nobody tells you. It is always warm. It splashes, and it is warm, and it stays warm longer than you expect. And it is on his face, his hands, his chest, soaking through the fabric over his heart. He breathes. Once. Twice. It's done, he thinks. The convulsion hits him like a wall. Not the potion this time, or not only the potion. This is different. This comes from inside, from somewhere underneath his ribs, underneath his sternum, underneath every layer of Yoon that has been living in Urim's body, and telling himself the body is just a container. Something wrenches at his heart. Not grief. He is certain it is not grief. He did not love these men. He came into this world with their blood already on his hands in every way that mattered before tonight made it literal. But something is pulling, at the center of him. At the place where Yoon ends and Urim begins, that border he has never been able to find cleanly because it has never been clean, because you cannot live in someone's body and feel their mother's hands on your face and their sister's arms around your neck and remain entirely separate. He presses his fist against his chest. The pulling intensifies. His legs go. He hits the floor of the room that was meant to break him, and he presses his fist harder against his heart and thinks, "What is this? What is this?" The candles flicker. Every single one, simultaneously, like the room itself just exhaled. And in the space where the pulling lives, in the space that is neither Yoon nor Urim but somehow both, something answers. It was dark, then sound. A voice. Cutting through whatever the darkness is made of. Pulling at him the way nothing has any right to pull at a man who has already decided to stop. Urgent. Panicked. Real in the specific way of things that have not yet accepted what is happening. Hey! Hey, can you hear me? Please! Open your eyes! Please! Hands on his chest. Small. Pressing. The particular rhythm of someone who knows what they're doing but is frightened anyway. Someone call an ambulance. I need help over here, please. Yoon opens his eyes. The sky above him is gray. City gray. The specific colorless ceiling of a sky that has too many buildings competing for it. A road. The smell of rain on asphalt and something metallic that he recognizes from a different life, spent in a different kind of danger. And above him, a face. Yoon goes completely still. He knows this face. Not the way you know a stranger's face. Not the way you know someone you have met before, at a function or a meeting, or a forgettable evening. He knows this face, the way you know something that has lived inside you. The specific architecture of it, the exact distance between the eyes, the particular way the mouth sets when it is frightened but functioning. Black hair, pale skin, beautiful in a way that has nothing to do with trying. Yurim. Yoon says. His own voice comes out wrecked, wrong, barely there. The voice of a man whose body has just remembered it nearly stopped. The face above him freezes. What did you? Yoon pulls back slightly. His eyes are wide. How do you know my name? Yoon looks at him. He doesn't have an answer. He doesn't try to find one. He just looks at this face that he knows better than he should and feels something in his chest that has no name in any language he speaks, settle like something coming home. Sir, stay with me. The ambulance is coming. You need to stay. Yoon says again. Stop saying my name like that, Yurim says, and his voice is strange. Not angry, not quite. Something more confused than angry. You don't know me. I don't know you. Yoon closes his eyes. The darkness comes back. Surgery takes 4 hours. Yurim knows this because he stays for all of it. He doesn't mean to. He means to leave. The moment the paramedics took over, he was already stepping back, already telling himself his part was done. He stopped to help, and he helped, and now a team of professionals had it handled, and he had a meeting at 2 and a stack of files on his desk that weren't going to read themselves. He gets to the hospital exit, stops, stands at the automatic doors for 40 seconds while they open and close around him like the building is breathing, goes back inside. He finds a seat in the surgical waiting area and takes out his phone and stares at his emails and reads the same sentence 11 times without retaining a single word. His assistant calls. Where are you? The CO meeting is in an hour. Reschedule it. The CO meeting, his assistant repeats carefully. That took 3 months to reschedule it, Mina. Silence. Are you all right? Mina asks. Yurim looks at the surgical ward doors. I don't know, he says honestly. I'll call you later. He sits. He waits. He does not examine why. The surgeon finds him 2 hours later, still in the same seat, jacket folded on his lap, doing absolutely nothing in the focused way of someone actively preventing themselves from thinking. Are you family? The surgeon asks. No, Yurim says. Friend? A pause. No. The surgeon looks at him for a moment. He's out. Stable. It'll be a long recovery, but... She stops. Are you sure you're not family? I'm sure. All right. She moves on. Yurim sits for another 10 minutes, then goes in anyway. The room is quiet. Machines. White light. The particular stillness of a body that has been through something enormous and is now simply trying to continue. Yoon's eyes are open. They find Yurim immediately, before he is fully through the door, before he has decided where to stand or what to say, or why he is here at all. Those eyes find him the way eyes find something they were already looking for. Yurim stops in the middle of the room. You're awake, he says. Brilliant. You stayed, Yoon says. His voice is better now. Still wrecked, still thin, but underneath it, something. A quality Yurim cannot name. I was just... Yurim gestures vaguely at the room. At the hospital. At nothing. I wanted to make sure you stayed. Yoon says again. Not a question this time. Yurim doesn't answer that. He moves to the chair beside the bed and sits, because standing feels suddenly uncertain. He looks at this man, broad shoulders even flat in a hospital bed, jaw set even half-conscious, the specific stillness of someone who is always the most controlled person in the room, even when the room is a surgical recovery ward. I don't know you, Yurim says, carefully, like he is reminding both of them. I know, you said my name. On the road. Before I told you. I know. How? Yoon looks at him. Something moves through his expression. Not an answer, not quite. Something that doesn't have a clean shape yet. I don't know, he says. Urim studies his face, looking for the lie in it, finding nothing that looks like a lie. His phone buzzes. Mina, the reschedule hadn't gone smoothly. The CO people were asking for a direct explanation. He needed to. He stands. I have to go. My assistant is. He picks up his jacket. I'm glad you're okay. Genuinely. But I should. Please. One word. That is all. Urim stops. Please don't go. He turns. Yoon's hand is extended. Not grabbing, not demanding. Just open. Extended. The way you reach for something you are not certain you are allowed to want. Urim looks at the hand. Looks at the face. Looks at the hand again. He closes the distance without deciding to. Sits back down without meaning to. And when his hand meets Yoon's, when that specific point of contact completes, something moves through Yoon like weather. Not pain, not the potion, not the chains or the road or the gray city sky. Something older than all of it. Something that has his whole body going still and his eyes closing and every alpha instinct he has ever had. Every finely calibrated, ruthlessly rational, 31 years of controlled and deliberate instinct, collapsing into two words. My mate. 3 seconds. That is how long they stay like that. Yoon's hand around his. The words still in the air between them, not fading, not dissolving the way words usually do when the moment passes. Just staying. Suspended. Like the room has decided to hold them there until someone does something about it. Urim does something about it. He stands. Too fast. The chair scrapes back and he catches it before it falls, and that small fumble is the most undignified thing he has done in professional memory. And he is suddenly acutely aware of every square inch of his own face. He stops. Starts again. I have to go. Yoon looks at him, says nothing. His hand is still open on the bed where Urim's just was. Not reaching, not withdrawing, just open. Like a question nobody asked out loud. I have a meeting, Urim says. His voice is impressively level. He is impressed by it. I already rescheduled once and I can't. It's important. The CO account is. He stops. Yoon has not asked for an explanation. He is explaining anyway. To a man he does not know. In a hospital room he had no reason to stay in. I'm glad you're okay. He grabs his jacket. Walks to the door. Does not look back. Does not look back. He does not look back. The taxi smells like pine air freshener and old leather, and Urim sits in the back of it with his hands in his lap and stares at the city moving past the window and thinks about absolutely nothing successfully for approximately 45 seconds. Then it starts. My mate. He presses 2 fingers to his temple. My mate. Sir? The driver glances in the mirror. You okay back there? Fine, Urim says. I'm fine. He is not fine. He is a 28-year-old professional with an afternoon meeting and a stack of contracts on his desk, and what he is currently doing is sitting in the back of a taxi, replaying the moment a stranger's hand closed around his chiasms, and something in his chest, in his actual chest, below the sternum, somewhere embarrassingly central, responded like a bell being struck. He is an omega. He knows what alpha proximity does technically, the biology of it, the chemistry, the clinical reality. He has read the literature. He has navigated the professional world as an unbonded omega for 6 years, with perfect composure and a very good scent suppressant and exactly 0 incidents. This was not that. This was not proximity. This was not chemistry. This was not anything in the literature he has read. This was something that grabbed him by the center and said, stay, and meant it. He stares at the city. I don't know him, he thinks. The city doesn't respond. I don't know him, and he knew my name, and he called me his mate, and I stayed in that hospital for 6 hours without a single logical reason, and I would still be there if I hadn't. His phone buzzes. Mina, where are you? They're already in the conference room. 2 minutes, he types back. He straightens his jacket, fixes his expression. Does the thing he has spent 6 years perfecting, the clean, professional surface that gives nothing away. The taxi stops, he gets out. The CO representatives are 3 people in very expensive suits, arranged on one side of the conference table, with the particular posture of people delivering bad news to someone they cannot afford to offend. Urim sits, opens his folder, clicks his pen. Let's begin, he says. The lead representative, a man named Park, 50s, practiced smile, clears his throat. Mr. Urim, first we want to sincerely apologize for the disruption to today's schedule. The disruption, Urim says pleasantly. There has been an incident. On our end, Park exchanges a glance with the woman beside him. Our boss was involved in an accident this morning. He is currently, Urim's pen stops, in surgery. We understand, though the latest report is that he is stable and, I'm sorry, Urim says. His voice is very even. Your boss? Yes. Mr. Park. Urim sets his pen down. I have been corresponding with your office for 3 months. I have been negotiating this account for 3 months. With whom exactly have I been speaking? Park blinks. With me, sir, and my team. We handle all preliminary negotiations on Mr. Seo's behalf. Mr. Seo, Urim repeats. Yes. Seo Yoon, he was supposed to be here today. The woman beside Park adds quickly. He specifically cleared his schedule to attend in person. He felt the account had reached a stage where he should be directly involved. But the accident this morning. He is recovering well, Park says. We expect a full... What does he look like? Silence. Park blinks again. I beg your pardon? Mr. Seo. Urim's voice is perfectly conversational, perfectly normal, giving absolutely nothing away. I like to know who I'm working with. Do you have a photo? Another exchanged glance. The woman pulls out her phone, scrolls briefly, turns the screen around. Urim looks at the photo. The photo looks back at him. Broad shoulders, dark hair, the specific stillness of someone who is always the most controlled person in the room, even in a professional headshot. The man from the hospital. The man who knew his name before he said it, who held his hand in a recovery room, who said 2 words that have been sitting in Urim's chest like a stone since the moment they left his mouth. My mate. Urim looks at the photo for exactly as long as is professionally acceptable. Then he looks up. I see, he says. We truly apologize for the inconvenience, Park says. Mr. Seo had been looking forward to this meeting personally. We can reschedule for whenever suits your... That's fine. Urim closes his folder, stands, extends his hand across the table. Please pass on my wishes for a swift recovery. Of course, of course. He shakes hands. He smiles. He walks out of the conference room and down the corridor and into the elevator and presses the button for the lobby and stands in the mirrored box of it and watches his own reflection all the way down. In the lobby he stops. Stands very still in the middle of the foot traffic. People moving around him, past him, the ordinary current of a city afternoon. He thinks about hours in a waiting room, about automatic doors opening and closing around him while he stood there unable to walk through them, about a hand extended on a hospital bed. Open, not demanding, about the pull, that specific, cellular, completely irrational pull that started on a road over a stranger's bleeding body and has not stopped since and apparently has no intention of stopping and cannot be explained by proximity or chemistry or anything in the literature he has read. He thinks about being an omega, about instincts that don't ask permission, about the one thing every unbonded omega is told and chooses to intellectualize until it becomes theoretical, until it isn't. Was that? Urim thinks slowly, carefully, like a man approaching something he isn't sure is safe. Was that what that was? He doesn't go back to the hospital. He decides this firmly. On the 3rd day, while standing in front of his bathroom mirror at 6 in the morning with a very reasonable expression on his face. The man was delirious, post-surgery, freshly out of anesthesia after a major accident. People say things, nonsensical, weightless, chemically induced things that mean nothing in the light of a normal day. Urim splashes water on his face. It means nothing. Weeks pass. He is very busy. The CO account is on hold, and Urim fills that space with 3 other accounts and a restructuring proposal and a networking dinner he hates every second of. He sleeps adequately. He eats correctly. He takes his suppressants on schedule and maintains his professional surface with the precision of a man who has decided that precision is the same thing as peace. The pull doesn't go away. That is the problem nobody warned him about, that it doesn't fade with distance the way ordinary things fade. It just sits, patient, cellular, right below the sternum where he cannot reach it, and cannot reason with it, and cannot convince it that the man in the hospital bed was simply confused. 3 months later, Mina knocks on his office door. "The CO account," she says. "They want to reschedule." Urim looks up from his laptop. "Mr. Seo will be attending in person this time," Mina adds. She pauses. "He specifically requested you lead the meeting on our end." Urim looks back at his laptop. "Confirm it," he says. His voice is very level. His hands are not entirely steady when he types the confirmation. He spends an embarrassing amount of time getting ready the morning of the meeting. He is aware of this. He is aware that he has changed his tie twice and checked his reflection 4 times, and that Mina looked at him with an expression she was too professional to name when he arrived 12 minutes earlier than usual. "You look fine," Mina says. "I know," Urim says. "You look exactly the same as you always do." "I know, Mina. So whatever your—" "Thank you, Mina." She hands him his coffee and retreats without further comment. Urim sits at the head of the conference table and opens his folder and reads the same page 3 times and retains nothing. The door opens, and then, before he sees anything, before his eyes have found the door, before his brain has processed the sound of footsteps, the scent hits him. Alpha, but not the generic, managed, professionally suppressed version he navigates daily without incident. This is specific. This is a scent that bypasses the professional surface entirely and goes straight to the place below his sternum, where the pull lives and has been living for 3 months and grips. Urim's hand tightens on his pen. He looks up. Yoon walks through the door the way Yoon does everything, unhurried, completely filling the space without trying, his eyes finding Urim before they find anything else in the room. They look at each other for exactly 1 second. 1 second that contains approximately 3 months of pretending. "Mr. Urim," Yoon says. His voice is recovered now, full, even, the voice of a man who runs things. "Thank you for making the time." "Mr. Seo," Urim says. "Welcome." They shake hands. The contact lasts exactly as long as is professionally appropriate. Urim sits back down. His heart is doing something completely unprofessional. The meeting is an hour long. It is objectively a very productive meeting. Urim knows this because he has conducted hundreds of meetings and can assess their productivity on a structural level even while the rest of him is doing something else entirely. Points are raised, agreements are reached, numbers are confirmed, and in between every single one of those professional moments, a glance. Yoon looking up from the document at precisely the moment Urim looks up from his notes. Urim reaching for his water at the exact second Yoon reaches for his. 2 people sitting on opposite sides of a conference table, performing normalcy with the focused energy of people for whom normalcy is currently requiring significant effort. The CO representatives gather their folders. Urim's team stands. The room empties in the ordinary way of rooms after meetings. Chairs scraping, quiet conversations, the shuffle of people returning to the rest of their day. Urim closes his folder, stands. "Stay," Yoon says. Simple, direct, the way he says everything. Urim's team is still filing out. Nobody looks back. The last person pulls the door, and then it is just the 2 of them in the conference room, with the city spread out behind the glass wall, and 3 months of a pull that never faded, sitting between them like a third presence. "I have—" Urim starts. "Stay," Urim says again. Urim picks up his folder, takes 1 step toward the door. Yoon's hand closes around his wrist, the same hand, the same grip, the same point of contact as the hospital room, and the pull detonates. Urim's step becomes no step. His momentum reverses without his permission, and then he is sitting, somehow, suddenly, and the chair he is sitting on is warm and solid, and is not a chair. He looks down. Yoon's thighs. He looks up. Yoon's face. Very close. Closer than the conference table allowed. Close enough that the alpha scent is not something that hits from across a room anymore. It is something that wraps. That settles. That does something to Urim's omega instincts that his suppressants are apparently completely unprepared for. Neither of them moves. The city goes about its business behind the glass. "I should," Urim says. "Should what?" Yoon says. Urim doesn't finish the sentence. He doesn't have a finish for it. Every ending he reaches for dissolves before he gets there, because Yoon's hand is still on his wrist, and the scent is still wrapping, and the pull is doing what the pull has been doing for 3 months, except now there is no lobby to stand in, and no taxi to get into, and no reasonable distance to put between himself and this. Yoon tilts his head. Just slightly, the way he does when he is about to say something that requires no preamble. My mate, he says, a whisper, low, certain. The words landing exactly where they landed in the hospital room, except this time, Urim is close enough to feel them. The blush starts at his neck and moves up, and there is absolutely nothing he can do about it. How? Urim says. And his voice is not level, not even close to level. Are you so sure? Yoon looks at him. Something moves through his expression. Deep, layered. The look of a man carrying a story too large for a conference room, but carrying it anyway. I have crossed 2 worlds for you, he says. How else could I be so sure? Urim stares at him. The words don't make sense. They are not logical. They do not fit into any framework Urim has for how the world operates, or how people speak to each other in conference rooms in the middle of a Tuesday afternoon. He looks into Yoon's eyes and stops needing them to make sense. Because whatever is in those eyes, whatever Yoon is carrying in them, whatever weight and history and certainty lives there, it is the same thing that has been sitting below Urim's sternum for 3 months. Patient, cellular, completely beyond the reach of reason. Yoon's hand moves from his wrist to his face. Slow. Giving him every opportunity to move. He doesn't move. Their lips meet in the quiet of the conference room, with the city spread out behind the glass, and 3 months of distance collapsing into nothing, and something ancient and cellular, and completely beyond either of their control. Sealing. Finally. Completely. Love, Yoon discovers, is nothing like he expected. He has run companies, he has closed deals that moved markets, he has sat across tables from men twice his age and held his ground without blinking. He has, in another life entirely, broken alpha restraint chains with his bare hands and walked out of a gilded estate through his own devastation. None of that prepared him for this, for Urim burning toast on a Sunday morning and being genuinely offended when Yoon points it out. For the way Urim reads, curled into the corner of the sofa with his knees up, completely unreachable, so absorbed that Yoon has to say his name 3 times before the world comes back into his eyes. For the particular sound he makes when he is trying not to laugh at something Yoon says, a sound he swallows and fails to swallow and eventually loses entirely. Small things, ordinary things, things that have no gold in them and no danger and no test and no agenda. Yoon collects them the way he has always collected information, quietly, completely, without the subject knowing. You're staring, Urim says one evening without looking up from his book. I'm looking, Yoon says. What's the difference? Staring is unconscious. I'm doing this deliberately. Urim turns a page. That's worse. I know, Yoon says. Urim lowers his book just enough to look at him over the top of it. His expression is doing the thing it does, the thing where he is trying to be unaffected and is visibly failing and knows he is failing and is annoyed about it. Yoon finds this the most beautiful thing he has ever seen in either of his lives. He doesn't say this. He says, "What do you want for dinner?" Urim goes back to his book. "Whatever you're making. I wasn't planning to cook. Then whatever you're ordering. You have no preferences? My preference is for you to stop staring at me and feed me." Yoon picks up his phone and orders from the place Urim pretends not to have a favorite dish at. When the food arrives, Urim looks at his container, and then at Yoon, and then back at his container. "You remembered," he says. "I pay attention," Yoon says simply. Urim is quiet for a moment. "Yoon, don't be too good to me," Urim says quietly. "Not a joke. Not quite. It makes me nervous." Yoon looks at him. At this man who has spent his professional life being composed and capable and asking for nothing, who stayed 4 hours in a waiting room for a stranger, and then spent 3 months convincing himself it meant nothing. "Get used to it," Yoon says. Urim looks at his food. The corner of his mouth moves. "Okay," he says softly. 3 months in, Urim says carefully, casually, in the tone he uses when something matters very much. "My family wants to meet you." "I know," Yoon says. Urim looks at him. I haven't mentioned them before. You mention them constantly, Yoon says. You just don't notice you're doing it. He pauses. Your sister texts you every day. Your mother calls on Wednesday evenings. Your father sent you an article last week about investment trends, and you sent him 3 paragraphs back. Urim stares at him. You pay attention, Urim says slowly. I told you. A beat. Come on Saturday, Urim says. Like it is simple. Like his hands are not slightly tense around his coffee cup. Okay, Yoon says. They take the train. Urim says it is faster than driving. Yoon doesn't argue. He understands the real reason and finds it endearing and says so, and Urim spends 11 minutes explaining weekend highway traffic statistics. Yoon listens to every word. The house looks homely. Whitewashed walls. The ordinary garden with its ordinary flowers and its ordinary warmth that hits before you are fully through the entrance. Yoon stands at the gate for a moment longer than necessary. You okay? Urim asks. It's a good house, Yoon says. Urim looks at him with the expression he gets when Yoon says something that sounds simple and carries something else inside it. He has learned not to push on those moments. Yoon loves him for that most of all. The gate flies open. Urim. The sister arrives at full speed, arms around her brother, face in his shoulder, exactly as she always does. Then she steps back and finds Yoon and stops completely, studies him. You're very tall, she says. Yes, Yoon agrees. Are you good to him? Yes. Are you sure? Era, Urim says. I'm asking important questions. Her name is Era, Urim tells Yoon. I know, Yoon says. They both look at him. He says nothing further. Era sticks out her hand. If you hurt him, I will dedicate significant energy to making your life difficult. I have time and I am creative. Yoon shakes her hand. I won't hurt him. She searches his face. The specific look of someone deciding whether a thing is true. Okay, she says. Mom made enough food for several people who haven't eaten in weeks. Come in. The mother feeds him before he finishes sitting down. The father waits until the second course, then sets down his chopsticks and looks at Yoon with the quiet, unhurried eyes of a man who has been waiting to ask one question for a long time. What are your intentions toward my son? Father, Urim starts. He's allowed, Yoon says. Urim closes his mouth. Yoon looks at the father, this quiet man who drove through the night in another world to ask his child one question and meant the answer with everything in him. I intend to marry him, Yoon says. With your blessing if you'll give it. I would prefer that, but I want you to know that the answer is the same either way. I'm not asking your permission. I'm asking to begin well. The table is quiet. Era is not quiet. I knew it. Era, her mother says softly, but she is smiling into her sleeve. The father looks at Yoon for a long moment, the look of a man taking a full measurement. You'll take care of him, he says. Not a question. Every day, Yoon says. The father picks up his chopsticks. Then eat, he says simply. You're too thin. Urim makes a sound beside Yoon, half laugh, half exhale, and Yoon feels it move through him like something settling, like a room finding its final arrangement, like a man who crossed 2 worlds sitting down at the right table. Finally, the wedding is small. Urim's choice. Yoon would have given him anything, a hall, a territory, 400 guests in silk and gold if that was what he wanted. But Urim looked at the options and said, just the people who matter. And so it is just the people who matter. The family, a handful of colleagues who became friends. Era, in a dress she complained about for 2 weeks and cried in for the entire ceremony. Yoon prepares no vows. Urim's mother asks him 3 days before if he has written anything, and he says he will handle it. And she looks at him with the particular expression of a woman who has learned when to trust and when to worry. He handles it. He stands at the altar, a real one this time, small and flower-lined and nothing like the gilded monument 2 men once stood at alone, and looks at Urim walking toward him and forgets every word he has ever known, then finds different ones. I don't know how to explain you, he says, when Urim reaches him. When they are standing close enough that the words are only for him. I have tried. I am not a man who usually fails to find language for things, a breath. But you are the thing I cannot explain. Urim's eyes are very bright. I know that I found you. Yoon continues. I know what it cost. I know that there is no version of any world where I would not have found you, where I would not have crossed whatever distance existed between us to find you. He pauses. I crossed 2 worlds for you. I would cross 200. Someone in the small gathering makes a sound. Era is not subtle about it. I don't have a lot of soft things in me, Yoon says. You know this. You have spent months cataloging my edges and staying anyway. That is the most extraordinary thing anyone has ever done for me. He takes Urim's hands, both of them, holds them the way you hold things you have traveled a very long distance to reach. I vow to spend every day being worth that choice, to pay attention, to remember, to be the thing you stayed for. He stops. Urim is crying, trying very hard not to, failing completely. I had more, Yoon says quietly, just for him. But you're crying, and I find I can't continue. Urim laughs, wet and helpless and entirely undignified, and Yoon feels it move through their joined hands and into his chest and settle there permanently. You crossed 2 worlds, Urim whispers. I did. I don't know what that means. I know. But, Urim looks at him. At whatever lives in Yoon's eyes that has never fully translated into language. I believe you. Yoon looks at this man. At Urim, alive and real, and here, in this world, at this altar, with flowers instead of gold, and love instead of performance, and a sister crying loudly in the front row, and a father who told Yoon to eat more, and a mother who called on Wednesday evenings. He thinks about a gilded room and a chandelier, and 2 men who watched something beautiful die and called it convenient. He thinks about waking up in blood and darkness and choosing, with the first breath available to him, not to die. He thinks about what it cost. He thinks about what it bought. Everything, he thinks. It bought everything. He raises Urim's hands to his lips. I crossed 2 worlds, he says quietly, against his knuckles, and I would do it again. The end. He woke up in a dying body, betrayed by the only people he ever loved. No memory, no allies, no way out. Just a soul too stubborn to die, trapped in a world that had already decided his ending. He survived poison. He survived chains. He survived 2 men who looked at devotion and saw convenience. And when he finally found his way back, love was waiting in the last face he expected. If this story moved you, if you felt every chain, every betrayal, every moment he chose himself over surrender, let us know you were here. Like this video, it tells us you want more stories that don't flinch. Comment below. Tell us which moment broke you. Was it the altar, the chains, the vow? Share this with someone who needs a story about surviving beautiful monsters. Subscribe and hit the bell.